So voting for the first phase of BTC elections ended peacefully with around 70% polling registered till 5 p.m. The State Election Commission is still working on the final figures, which will be available shortly. And meanwhile, a few voters who are still within the perimeters of polling booths are still being allowed to exercise their franchise. It may be mentioned that polling began at 7:30 a.m. today amid tight security arrangements in 21 constituencies in Baksa and Udalguri districts. Over 13.64 lakh people were set to exercise their franchise to seal the fate of 132 candidates. 10 constituencies in Udalguri and 11 constituencies in Baksa district went to polls today. All right, so the voting for the first phase of BTC elections ended peacefully with around 75% polling registered till 5 p.m. And the State Election Commission is still working on the final figures, and we are expecting it shortly from now. Meanwhile, a few voters who are still within the perimeters of polling booths are still being allowed to exercise their franchise. It may be mentioned that polling began at 7:30 a.m. today amid tight security arrangements in 21 constituencies in Baksa and Udalguri districts. Over 13.64 lakh people were set to exercise their franchise to seal the fate of 132 candidates. 10 constituencies in Udalguri and 11 constituencies in Baksa district went to polls today. And leaders of the contesting parties were also among early voters. After casting his vote, UPPL Chief Pramod Boro said that people in Boro heartland are seeking for a change or parivartan and exuded confidence that his party will seal victory. Meanwhile, after casting his vote, UPPL Chief Pramod Boro said that people in Boro heartland are seeking for a change or parivartan and have exuded confidence that the party will seal victory. And Boro also expects a high turnout in polls.
17 বছৰত মানে হাগ্ৰামা মহিলাৰিয়ে সেই দুখীয়া গৰীব ৰাইজৰ কাৰণে একো কামে নকৰিলে সেই দুখীয়া গৰীব ৰাইজক প্ৰবঞ্চনা কৰিলে ঠগালে আৰু সেই কাৰণে আজি যেটো আছে আপুনি দেখিবলৈ পাইছে কি সকলো জাতি জনগোষ্ঠী ওলাই আছে ইয়াত বড়ো বুলি অসমীয়া বুলি কথা নাই ইয়াত বঙালী মুছলমান বুলি কথা নাই আদিবাসী সাঁওতাল সকলো জনগোষ্ঠী ৰাভা খৰণীয়া গাৰো নাথযোগী সূত্ৰধৰ হাজং মদাহী সব জনগোষ্ঠী আজি স্বতঃস্ফূৰ্তভাৱে ওলাই আহিছে ৰাইজে ভোট দিবলৈ আহিছে গাড়ী ৰিজাৰ্ভ কৰি আহিছে বাহিৰৰ পৰা যোৱাকালি শিলঙৰ পৰা আহিছে গুৱাহাটীৰ পৰা আহিছে সবে আহিছে ভোট দিবলৈ এইবাৰ সবে উৎফুল্লিত হৈছে পিএলক ভোট দিব লাগে গোটেই সবে পৰিৱৰ্তন বিচাৰিছে গোটেই নিশা ফোন কৰি আছে স্যাৰ আমি আহি আছো যোৰহাটৰ পৰা আহিছো শিলঙৰ পৰা আমি আহি আছো ওয়েষ্ট বেংগলৰ পৰা আমি কাম কৰিবলৈ গৈছিলো ভোট দিবলৈ আহিছে তাৰ মানে লাইনটো দীঘলীয়া হ'ব আৰু UPPL জয়যুক্ত হ'ব
Meanwhile, a UPPL candidate and founder general secretary of a disbanded NDFB, Govinda Basumutari, who is up against BPF's Khampa Borgyari in the Chirangdwar constituency, was also among early voters. Basumutari, who cast his vote after nearly 33 years, pledged to work for the welfare of the people.
আমি সংগ্ৰাম কৰা মানুহ বহু বছৰ সংগ্ৰাম কৰিলো জংঘলে পাহাৰে ঘূৰি বহু বছৰ আকৌ ভাৰত চৰকাৰৰ লগত আলোচনাত সময় কটালো প্ৰায় 15 বছৰ ধৰি আৰু 15 বছৰ আলোচনা কৰাৰ পিছত ইয়াৰে সফল সমাপ্তি হ'ল 2020 চনৰ জানুৱাৰী 27 তাৰিখে চুক্তি কৰাৰ জৰিয়তে আৰু চুক্তি স্বাক্ষৰ কৰোঁতে মই ভাবিছিলোঁ মোৰ কাম শেষ মোৰ আৰু কৰিব লগা একো নাই কিন্তু ৰাইজে আকৌ নেৰিলে বা আকৌ নিৰ্বাচনত অৱতৰণ কৰিব লগা হ'ল মই এবাৰ আজি প্ৰাৰ্থী হিচাপে ভোট দিলোঁ আৰু প্ৰাৰ্থী হিচাপে যোৱা 10 মাহ ধৰি যিখিনি কাম কৰাৰ জৰিয়তে অভিজ্ঞতা হ'ল ইলেকশ্যন সম্পৰ্কে আচলতে ইলেকশ্যন আমাৰ নিচিনা মানুহৰ কাৰণে নহয় তথাপি ৰাইজে যেতিয়া বিচাৰিছে মই নামিলোঁ আৰু এটা নতুন অভিজ্ঞতা পাইছোঁ ৰাইজৰ হেঁচাত মই নিৰ্বাচন কৰিলোঁ আৰু নিৰ্বাচিত হ'লে নিশ্চয় জনসাধাৰণৰ সেৱাৰ কাৰণে কাম কৰিম
All right, so battleground BTR, around 75% turnout has been recorded till 5 p.m. And even though the phase 1 of voting has officially ended, the last person within the perimeters of polling booths will be allowed to exercise their franchise. And early trends promised a sizable voters turnout. However, things slowed down for some time post 11 a.m. And as a 75% turnout has been recorded till 5 p.m. We expect the final figures in a short while from now, as the State Election Commission is still working on the final figures. And meanwhile, a few voters who are still within the perimeters of polling booths are still being allowed to exercise their franchise. And it may be mentioned that polling, which began at 7:30 a.m. today amid tight security arrangements in 21 constituencies in Buxa and Udalguri districts. And over 13.64 lakh people were set to exercise their franchise to seal the fate of 132 candidates. And our colleague Joydeep Hazarika caught up with Buxa Deputy Commissioner Ranjan Sharma earlier in the afternoon, and DC Sharma informed that special care was taken during polling in view of the COVID scenario.
Apart from the polling parties, the presiding officers and the polling officers, we have engaged ASHA workers and multi-purpose workers to maintain the COVID protocol. They, by using a thermal gun, a thermal scanner, they have been scanning each and every voter who has entered the polling station. Apart from giving them the mask, those who are not wearing a mask, they give them a mask. They give them sanitizers, they give them gloves, and they also ensure social distancing while they are in the queue.
And the Deputy Commissioner also briefed about arrangements in place for security of ballot boxes.
The presiding officer will seal the ballot boxes in presence of the polling agents, and after doing the necessary paperwork, they will board the bus to come back to this place, Moshalpur Higher Secondary School, where they will deposit their ballot boxes and other documents.
All right, so we just heard from the DC, the Deputy Commissioner of Buxa, who spoke to our colleague Joydeep Hazarika, and he was updating on the polling in the district, and he also informed that special care was taken during polling in view of COVID scenario, as a 75% polling was registered till 5 p.m. But still, the State Election Commission is still working on the final figures, and we expect the figures to be out in some time from now. And there are still some voters who are inside the perimeters of a polling booth. They have been allowed to exercise their franchise, and that is being done in all the necessary protocols that has been taken during this entire phase 1 polling procedure. All right, my colleague Joydeep Hazarika joins us live to give us update on the entire scenario. Well, Joydeep, since morning you have been covering this phase 1 election, 75% polling registered. Still, the election commission is still working on the final figures. Do you have the final figures, or we have to wait for some time now?
Well, Pooja, actually we will have to wait for some more time, because the final figures have been worked on. 75% polling recorded so far in the first phase, including both Buxa and Udalguri districts. This is a very good number, because initially it was being thought that the numbers may hover around somewhere around 60%, but now it has gone up to 75%, and when the final figures may come up, it may even touch 80%, which is a very good sign. Also, on top of that, today's election has been without any untoward incident. This has been a very, very peaceful election. In fact, a peaceful BTC election after a long time. Otherwise, BTC elections have often been associated with untoward incidents or poll-related violence. But today, we got to see elections being conducted everywhere in a smooth manner. People came out in large numbers, cast their votes, and on top of that, the election also took place under the shadow of COVID-19. Hence, today we saw polling officials and security personnel put stress not only on the model code of conduct, but also on maintaining the standard COVID protocols. Hence, a lot of things were at play today. And on top of that, people came out in large numbers. People came out in large numbers because this election has been quite a whirlwind tour. It has been quite important today. The first phase has been seen as a means of the people coming out and casting their vote for change. We are right now at the premises of the Baksa, the Musalpur High Secondary School. Polling officials have been coming in consistently over the last 2 hours. They have been coming in teams from different parts of Baksa district. As you can see, the school ground of Musalpur Higher Secondary School is filled with polling officials and security personnel who have been coming in from all over Baksa. Baksa has been basically divided into 4 constituencies, and from each constituency, scores of polling officers are coming in along with sealed ballot boxes. As you can see, they're all seated, they're all working out their final arrangements before the sealed ballot boxes are handed over to the authorities here at the strong room. The strong room is being overlooked is been overseen by the DC Baksa DC who is also the returning officer. So once all the formalities are done, which will take some time. In fact, all this work may even continue late into the night, because even as we speak, a lot of these polling teams are coming in. They're coming in from different zones, from different polling booths, and hence many of the polling booths may even reach here by even late night, depending on how far they are. So right now, as you can see, this place is teeming up with people. Lots of activity happening, and today, once the entire process is over, all the sealed ballot boxes and other necessary equipments will be handed over to the strong room, and they will remain in the strong room till the counting takes place on 12th. And finally, at the end of 12th, we will find out what have the people of the BTA region decided for themselves. Pooja.
Right, Joydeep, this is going to be a hectic work for all the polling officers out there, because they'll take some more time to count the final numbers, and that will be out in some time from now. Now, talking about the Deputy Commissioner whom you spoke a short while back, and he spoke about the necessary arrangements made for the security of the ballot boxes. So, can you please brief on that as well?
Yes, we talked to Bakshi, and he had made it specific that a lot of arrangements have been taken to ensure that the ballot boxes, the sealed ballot boxes, remain in the strong room in a proper way till they are finally opened up and they get examined to see what the final results of the elections are. Today, obviously, as you can see, right now a lot of people are gathered here. Right now, they're all looking into the nitty-gritties. They're all looking into the nitty-gritties. The final, they're looking into the final pieces before they have the sealed ballot boxes. There are several police teams here that have been deployed all over Baksa district in all the various polling stations. Today, once this is done, they will be submitting these ballot boxes to the polling officials here at the strong room. From there, all the sealed ballot boxes will be taken to the nearby higher secondary school building, which is within the premises itself. There, it will be kept inside the strong room, where security will be kept in a very tight manner till the 12th. On 12th, again, a lot of activity will be taking here. Obviously, because that day will be the counting day, along with the rest of the constituencies and districts in the BTA region. So as you can see, people are still coming in. These people are all coming in from different places. Already, the areas within the Musalpur town and most of the areas surrounding in the nearby Musalpur constituency, most of those polling teams have already come in. These polling teams, which are now coming in, these are coming in from the other constituencies such as Toklabari or Tamulpur or all the other places. Many of these are even coming from near the Bhutan border areas. So it will take time.
All right, Joydeep, so there are other voters left. There are still some voters left who have to cast their votes, and they are inside the polling stations, isn't it?
Yes, we have got information that there are certain polling stations in Baksa district,
Okay.
and also in Udalguri also, where voters are still there. Actually, the thing is that these particular polling stations has seen a lot of turnout. So as per schedule, at 4:30, even though the polling officially stopped, people who had gathered within the premises already by 4:30, they have all been issued slips. Now, people who turned up after 4:30, they have not been allowed to cast any votes. Those people will be left out because the official time is up. But all the people who are already gathered by 4:30 but could not cast their vote because they were in the queue, and there had been a long line. They have been handed slips, and those people are are casting their votes so far. Even as I speak, it is being expected that such process should get over by 8.
Okay.
Because obviously there are certain scrutiny and procedures, and also COVID protocols have to be maintained, which is why that process is taking some time. But going by what we have seen, by 75% turnout, it is not surprising that some polling booths are still seeing voters waiting to cast their votes, even
Absolutely.
right now till 7:20, even as I
Absolutely.
speak right
Thank you,
now.
Joydeep, for showing us those visuals and giving us all the updates regarding the phase 1 polling, which ended peacefully with around 75% of polling registered. And the State Election Commission is still working on the final figures. We showed you visuals of the polling officers working hard to count the final numbers. And meanwhile, few voters are still coming, and they are still inside the perimeters of polling booths who are being allowed to exercise their franchise. And it may be mentioned that the polling, which began at 7:30 today in the morning amid tight security arrangements in 21 constituencies in Baksa and Udalguri districts, and over 13.64 lakh people were set to exercise their franchise to seal the fate of 132 candidates. 10 constituencies in Udalguri and 11 constituencies in Baksa district went to polls today.